in the world that impact the value, it's gonna reflect in the currency market. And so the way people getting rich and getting wealthy in cryptocurrency is they buying at one price. Something happens, the price goes up, just like the stock market. And so, you know, just like there's always been multiple currencies. You got the US dollar, you got the Japanese yen, you got the euro. So now all these currencies is linked to a country and linked to a government. Is just it's a new version of value trading. That's the best way I can say it. You know what I mean? So as things happen in the world that impact the value, it's gonna reflect in the currency market. And so the way people getting rich and getting wealthy in cryptocurrency is they buying at one price. Something happens, the price goes up, just like the stock market. And so, you know, just like there's always been multiple currencies. You got the US dollar, you got the Japanese yen, you got the euro. So now all these currencies is linked to a country and linked to a government and linked to a bank. You know what I mean? And so Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies are not linked to a country.
It's literally value trading.
It's just value. So if Ed provides a service, and let's say you got a beat you produce, for example, and I want to buy it, and it's no country between this transaction.
Damn.
It's no regulation between this transaction.
Whatever the fuck you want.
It's you saying, if I need 2 Bitcoins for this beat, and I'm like, all right, I give you 2 Bitcoins, and I'll send it to you, and now you got it. And now you can go buy something that you want to buy with your Bitcoin outside of this central bank, outside of these regulations,
taxes,
all the fees,
and it's the reason why that's important. Like, all right, nobody wake up and say, I want to trade, I want to spend money outside the central bank. That ain't authentic. Yeah, no, that ain't organic. You know what I'm saying? But it's reasons why it's beneficial to have a currency that it has value outside of that, because the central bank, for example, could print their own bills. You know what I'm saying? And we could be trading things of value for bills of no value.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like gold of value for things of no value. You know what I'm saying? So it's important, because one day they might wake up like what happened in 08 and say, yeah, we ain't gonna be able to cash out none of these insurance policies, so we're gonna just go out of business.
You fucking with you.
Or yeah, we're not gonna be able to pay back these loans, so we're just gonna shut this bank down.
And you fucked.
You know what I'm saying? So what happened if they do that with the US dollar?
It's gonna be mayhem.
It's happened before.
Mayhem, bro.
You know what I'm saying? It's happened before, so this is why these currencies are popping up. These alternative currencies that ain't linked to the well-being of a country. It's regulated in a different way. You know what I'm saying? And that's a lot to digest. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a computer. You know
me.
I'm a
so,
nerd.
Yeah, you get it.
I've been on it.
But I'm saying is, like, right now, it's crazy for people to digest that shit. But it's just even within the last few months, people are starting to understand.
You know what somebody told me, not to cut you off?
No,
all right, remember the internet came out in the 90s, and it was like, it's the information superhighway. And what the fuck does that mean, bro?
Exactly.
And then niggas made Google.
Exactly.
And somebody made Facebook. And somebody made Instagram. And somebody made Snapchat. And somebody made Twitter. And somebody made YouTube. Now we understand the internet.
Right.
That's what's gonna happen with the blockchain and with cryptocurrency. Somebody's gonna make these technologies utilizing in these programs and these companies and these apps and these, you know, these products are gonna get made utilizing the technology, and then we're gonna understand it.
There we go. Crypto Nip. Definitely blockchain crypto gang. And he was hitting you off with some of that crypto talk. Very important to understand that. So we are live, blockchain crypto gang. And we're going to go over a couple different stories that's in the news. And from there, give you a little bit of that crypto talk. In the event, because I am waiting for a package to come that I have to sign for. So in the event that happens, I'm going to run back that video. Just bear with me. We're going to do what we do. And of course, the topic is, guess who bought 1 billion worth of Bitcoin? So if you've been locked in to the news when it comes to cryptocurrency and who's buying a lot of it, then you already know MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy. Michael Saylor, the CEO, is always buying Bitcoin. He doesn't care about the price. A lot of these billionaires are parking their money in assets and more moving towards Bitcoin as an asset to park their money. So the public company made its largest Bitcoin buy since early May, swooping up 10,100 Bitcoin. Wow. 10,000 Bitcoin. Could you imagine? So in brief, Strategy bought 10,000 Bitcoin in its latest token acquisition. The public software firm now holds 592,000 Bitcoin worth over 62 billion. The company made its Bitcoin buy as tensions between Iran and Israel came to a head. Now, here's what's going on and why the crypto market probably was slumping last week a little bit, and why even like 401ks and the money markets, the Dow, the S&P was down as well. Because there's conflict, regional conflict that has implications on the world economy that are happening right now, makes people typically in these type of times, they want to move their money to assets. And sometimes they take their money out of traditional markets, except for gold. Typically they'll rush towards gold. But these days, Bitcoin is the digital gold that people are using as a safe haven for their wealth. So it's not a surprise that we see, of course, Strategy adding 1 billion in Bitcoin last week, its largest purchase in more than a month, as the company continues its relentless quest for BTC accumulation despite raising tensions in the Middle East that sent crypto prices reeling. The Virginia-based software firm turned Bitcoin treasury purchased 10,000 Bitcoin at an average price of 104,000. So listen, he doesn't really care about buying the dip. He will buy the dip, but he's going to buy it regardless, because he understands that Bitcoin is an asset and that cash is trash. More importantly, he understands that Bitcoin is a scarce commodity or asset. It's scarce. There's only a certain amount that will ever exist. This is what's unique and separates Bitcoin from other cryptocurrencies. The scarcity. Only 21 million. That means that everyone can't own a Bitcoin. So it's scarce. There's only a certain amount. That's the value of Bitcoin. 21 million, that's it. And because think about it, if there was 21 billion Bitcoin would only be worth about $100 and something right now. There's 21 billion, plenty of other coins. So if there was 21 billion Bitcoins, it would be worth only about 100 and whatever, how much Bitcoin is, 100,000, whatever, $100 per Bitcoin if there was 21 billion. So the scarcity is why the value continues to increase. And of course, there's other specs that makes it value as well. But this is the 10th week in a row Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, has reported buying Bitcoin according to the company's website. Think about it like this. He's not just buying Bitcoin for his company. He has a strategy company that helps other businesses formulate their strategies financially. And Bitcoin is his strategy. See, rich people keep their money in assets. They don't keep their money in the bank. If you watch enough of these billionaires talk, they'll tell you the same thing. Cash is trash. It's not going to keep up with the inflation. So basically you're losing purchasing power. They like to keep their money some way working for them. And up until recently, we weren't able to do that as working class retail investors. You had to have a broker, you have to drive downtown, all this kind of stuff just to invest. We didn't really have ways. See, now what DeFi and blockchain technology does, it gives us the ability to make money in the same way banks make money, lending it out for percentages in a collateral debt position. It allows you to put your money in different places where you can stake. You could be a shareholder or a liquidity provider, and you could scale it to whatever you have. So, of course, your returns are going to reflect what you have in the game, but you'll still get the same type of percentages or greater, and definitely greater than you would keeping it in traditional markets or traditional banks. And this is what we're starting to see countries, corporations, billionaires do more of but it's something that we can also do as retail investors, which we couldn't before. So we are living in a very interesting time for those who are in the know. If you have access to the information, which you do, and access to the know-how, which you do, then you can make some of the same types of moves that was only afforded to billionaires at one point in time. So traders' jitters were also reflected in the broader stock market, with the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average falling 0.66% and 1% respectively, as investors fled to safe haven assets such as gold and other risk-off investments. So here's the fear and greed index right here. So as of Monday, Bitcoin has since retraced some of its losses. However, the world's oldest cryptocurrency was recently trading above 108,000, up 2.4% in the last 24 hours, although BTC is flat over the past week, according to the data provider CoinGecko. So, this is just more of the same as far as what we've come to expect from Michael Saylor and strategy and other investment vehicles pivoting now towards Bitcoin. Gold has also been coming up, and we'll show you that in a minute. So a lot of these companies are buying a lot of Bitcoin. You might not see it on the mainstream media. It's not very, it's not what they really want to show you on the mainstream, because it would still rival the traditional financial system. This is what you have to understand. It'd be a conflict of interest for everyone to know how to use DeFi. Not only that, to be honest with you, as far as real decentralized protocols and these blockchains, they couldn't support 8 billion people. They couldn't support the majority of people at this time. They're not built for scale like that, as we've seen plenty of times. But at the same time, as it gets developed, it would still be a conflict of interest, because if everyone could pull their money out of the native currencies of their respective countries, especially like the United States, then it would tank the dollar faster. If people knew how to deal with some of these protocols and deal with crypto directly, I won't say it would make banking obsolete as we know it, but it would definitely make them less relevant. That's just a fact. Matter of fact, before we get to the next story, since we're on the subject of buying Bitcoin, I remember when I first made my first Bitcoin purchase around 2017, 2018-ish. And, making decent money in a job that is backed by a union, you would think it wouldn't be so tough for me to pull the trigger on a $50 transaction, right? But it was. I remember my first Bitcoin purchase. I sat there and stared at the screen on Coinbase, debating, contemplating, oh man, what if it goes down, blah, blah, blah. This is over a $50 purchase, by the way. And I'm sitting here like going through it in my mind, fighting back against fighting the FOMO, is fighting the apprehension and FUD. And finally, I made the purchase of $50 worth of Bitcoin. Because at that point, I planned on making purchases every week. Every paycheck, I told myself I'm going to buy Bitcoin. So after that first purchase, by the time my next check came, Bitcoin was up. Remember, this was like at the beginning of the last bull cycle. So Bitcoin was up. So I was happy about that. And it made me a little bit more comfortable. And after that, I started buying Bitcoin. Then I would, switch it for other stuff here and there, buy Ethereum. I was big into Ethereum. And after a while, I realized I'm not really buying Bitcoin. My mind state switched from buying Bitcoin to just trading one currency for another. I'm trading currency for a currency that does have risk involved, but it trends upwards. At least it was at the time. And I knew that holding in the bank $50 is going to be $50 in a week. At least with Bitcoin, I think $50 turned into like $53 in a week. So I became more comfortable with it. And as I learned more about crypto and blockchain technology, I became even more comfortable and more confident in it. And what really helped me with my understanding of Bitcoin and blockchain technology was the tutorials that they had on Coinbase. So they would always have, and they still do, on Coinbase, where you watch these videos and they'll give you up to like $10 worth of that particular cryptocurrency. Matter of fact, I'm going live on Brave browser right now, and they gave me about $30 in total to learn about what Brave browser was about and to download and use it. This is when it was in beta stage. And I would try to share these links to people like, hey, yo, you can get some free crypto. And at this point, crypto wasn't really like what it is right now as far as the popularity and people knowing about it, the adoption and, knowledge and public awareness wasn't nearly as high as it is now. So people would think that, oh man, you're trying to rip me off. Oh, why do they need this personal information? Oh, why are they just going to give us just free crypto? Why are they just going to give us free money? Like, yo, they want to just let people know what it is. But as I was watching these different videos on EOS or Tezos or whatever ones they were having at the time, right? XLM. As I was watching these videos, what I realized, more so than seeing crypto as an investment and as a way to get rich or whatever, what I realized is the technology of blockchain was incredible. And I start seeing the potential of this. And I started learning more just about not just the potential of blockchain, but in essence, what it is. And that made me really become comfortable in this space. The more I learned, not only did it allow me to understand the potential and how to assess different cryptos and blockchains and just know that, there's a lot of different development going on in this space, but it also inoculated me. It protected me. It gave me what I needed to not get scammed by these fly-by-night situations, which is why I just don't use any DeFi protocol. I don't use anything that comes by, oh, it's going to give you 10% a day in gains and multi-level marketing. Nah, I realized, no. It helped me see and assess crypto and different opportunities and dismiss those that didn't make sense. All right. So now let's go ahead and get to this next story. That's just, I just wanted people to, I just want to share that for those who are new. Okay, so now let's get to this. So let's see if it's showing what it should be showing, right? We got that popping. We got that. We got that. Bam, here we go. Next story. From Decrypt. Crypto plunges. Israel strikes Iran. Gold and oil soar. So like I said, in times like this, is this a video? Let's see something.
Yo,
Okay,
yo, what up?
Doing the yo. Stop. We're not doing that. Not today. So anyway, typically in times like this is when you will see commodities start to go up, oil, gold, and whatnot. And gold has been going up, and gold is a good investment. There's drawbacks and there's pluses to me when it comes to gold. One of the drawbacks is you can't spin gold, right? You can't divide gold. It's not divisible. You know what I mean? You can't carry $50,000 worth of gold in your pocket. But it does hold its value. And now, at least with technology, there are ways that you can digitally hold the value of gold through ETFs and other traditional markets. And also in the crypto space, there are blockchains that do have gold that corresponds to real gold that, you could buy an ounce of gold, hold it in your crypto wallet, and that actually reflects an ounce of gold verified and certified in a Swiss vault that you can redeem physically. So gold is still a good commodity to hold. So crypto plunges. Israel strikes Iran. Gold and oil soar. FOMO per EP378. Crypto plunges as Israel strikes Iran. Win liquidated again. GameStop upsizes debt, rises to $2.25 billion to buy BTC. 21 companies launched BTC reserves in the last 30 days. 21 companies launched Bitcoin reserves in 30 days. The reason you have to understand this is because, like I said before, Bitcoin is very scarce. And it's becoming more and more scarce because more and more large companies and billionaires and countries are starting to, and they have been accumulating Bitcoin at a pace faster than it's being mined. So think about it. We just had another halving last April. That means now half of the Bitcoin prior to is being created now. So the ecosystem is going down. The production of Bitcoin is being halved as the demand is going up. Now, simple, supply and demand metrics dictate that if the supply of something is cut in half and the demand rate remains the same, you're likely going to see it double. If the demand raises on top of that, that's why people are saying Bitcoin to 400,000 by the end of this bull cycle. I'm not saying that. I'd be happy with Bitcoin at 150 or 200,000. That'd be fine with me because it's going to push the rest of the market up, and because that is a very good gain. See, a lot of people, they want to do the get rich quick, but I mean, hey, if you can get a 50% return of investment, that's a damn good return. And if you've been stacking up the Bitcoin for the past couple years when it was at 14,000, I believe at the beginning of 2024, maybe 2023, well, now you're seeing your investment is up 8 times. So, and not only that, if you wanted to get into some of these coins that you think are going to make you rich, they're going to go up 1,000%. I'm not saying there's not coins that's going to do that. There certainly is. What I'm saying is, if you don't know how to deal with these decentralized protocols, you're not going to be able to get them anyway. If you're on Twitter and you see somebody say, hey, you should get the orange cone dolphin coin, orange fin dolphin coin. Well, okay, cool. Do you know what blockchain that coin's on? If you do you know how to trade for it? Because Coinbase won't have it until it's really popping. Binance won't have it until it's really popping. Kraken won't have it. You're only going to be able to get it through decentralized wallets and or decentralized exchanges. So if you don't know how to deal with these protocols, you won't be able to get it anyway until it comes to Coinbase, and that's usually the last leg. For instance, Shiba Inu got to about $40 billion market cap. You remember all the hype about Shiba Inu, and it made so many people rich. Well, it didn't make everyone rich. Most people didn't get rich off Shiba Inu. Because if it went to 40 billion market cap, for you to 1,000x means you would have had to acquire your Shiba when it was 40 million or less in the market cap. That means before it was available on Robinhood, before it was available on Coinbase or Binance, you would have had to use a decentralized wallet that's connected to a decentralized exchange or go directly to the exchange. And you would have had to go to a pancake swap or something like that and copy the contract code, and you'd have to have the coin that corresponds with pancake swap and trade your BNB for the, you know what I mean? For the BNB chain or whatever, and then set the slippage percentages. You would have to go through a lot of different things that people don't know how to do typically if they're new to crypto. So you wouldn't have been able to acquire that. If you only acquired it once it hit Coinbase, you definitely didn't 1,000x. You might have 5 to 10x if you would have got rid of it at the height, at the peak. Most people didn't. So hence why they're stuck. This is why I always say you want to learn about these protocols. And, I didn't want to get too deep into this particular because it's very poorly written, to be honest with you. But I'm just showing you that the trends of commodities typically go up when there's different wars that threaten trade and threatens, global economics. So that's why gold and oil is going up. That's why people are starting to move. Now that Bitcoin is actually seen more on the mainstream as a safe haven, especially because there's now ETFs, so it's in the traditional market. Yeah, people are moving towards the Bitcoin. People are moving towards the gold and different commodities. People are looking at different stocks that do well during wartime and different options that give them more security, right? Like if something was to happen to where the banking was shut down or limited in what you can do, you're going to be in a very tough situation if you don't have cash. Or if you don't have your assets on a ledger that can't be hacked, that is secure, like Bitcoin. If you're holding your own physical, quote unquote, Bitcoin, the banking system goes down, you still have access to an asset that could be used as a medium of exchange. And if you know how to link these certain things up to certain type of debit cards, you can still spend freely anywhere. Or if you just have to go off the grid and just deal with people who accept Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies directly, which they exist. I have bought things from gold to marijuana seeds, all kinds of different things I've bought with Bitcoin, just literally using Bitcoin address to Bitcoin address, not having to use a credit card and on-ramp or nothing like that. So these things exist, and these things, if nothing else, become an alternative, right? So if we're seeing that these billionaires are making the kind of moves that they're making, it would only behoove us to at least consider these opportunities and alternative methods to holding wealth, to having a store of value that doesn't depend on a centralized authority to tell you, yes, you can do this transaction. No, you can't. Hey, it's too much. You can't do it until 8 a.m. Oh, it's going to take 3 or 5 business days for it to blah, blah, blah. It just behooves you to have these different options. This is why, even more so than just the I'm going to get rich one day type of thing, just knowing how to deal with these different kind of systems is going to be very necessary. At least to have that, that alternative. And we're starting to see this. We're starting to see this being more celebrated and accepted in a way of life. Look at my last video. BRICS. They're creating digital currencies to kind of rival the dollar. They're setting the infrastructure right now. Russia, Ukraine, they were using Bitcoin to fund that conflict. I wouldn't be surprised if Iran, seeing that they have a lot of sanctions and probably can't use the Swift messaging system or soon won't be able to, they can now just trade their oil for Bitcoin and then use that as a medium of exchange. We've seen other countries have to go this route. So they're doing on a macro level what Bitcoin was actually created to be on a micro level. That's where we're at right now. So I think that's it. We'll go ahead and just end it there. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Those are free ways to support the channel and help with the algorithms. Not only does it help the video get out more, but it also helps you see more videos like this. So it might not too much of the Moon Boy stuff, as some of you know. I don't do this coin is going to this. Not that I don't cover some of these coins that I think are, home run swings that I think might be, long shots that I don't mind putting a little money behind. But 90% of what I do on this channel, if you don't know already, same thing I did on CryptTalk podcast, is I just show you the news that you're not going to see on the mainstream. I show you the different developments and partnerships that are going on within the crypto blockchain space. And a little bit of poker porn point of view. If you check out some of my shorts. That's what this channel is about. It's about informing you to make your own decisions, not telling you what to do with your money. This is not financial advice by any means. Anyway, thanks for your time, y'all. Like I said, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Appreciate y'all. Peace.